Okay, we got the book of Revelation, chapter 20, the 1,000 years, the 1,000-year reign of Christ. Here we go. This is going to be so interesting. And I saw an angel coming down out of heaven, having the key to the abyss and holding in his hand a great chain. He seized the dragon, the devil. He seized the dragon, that ancient serpent, who is the devil or Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years. He threw him into the abyss and locked and sealed it over him, to keep him from deceiving the nations any more until, that's the key word, until the 1,000 years were ended. After that, after the 1,000-year reign, are you following this simple math problem here? He must be set free for a short time. Now, I'm assuming if they stopped him from deceiving the nations for 1,000 years, then when he's set free, he's going to be allowed to see who he can deceive. Now, it blows my mind that if Christ has been reigning for 1,000 years in perfect paradise peace, then how could anybody be deceived at the end of the 1,000-year reign of Christ, King of Kings, ? How could you be deceived after being ruled over by Christ? Now, I've heard preachers say no one is going to be deceived, okay? And I've heard preachers say many people will be deceived. So I do not have the answer, my friend. I saw thrones on which were seated those who had been given authority to judge, and I saw the souls of those who had been beheaded because of their testimony about Jesus and because of the word of God. They had not worshipped the beast or its image and had not received its mark on their foreheads or their hands. They came to life and reigned with Christ 1,000 years. So you see, this is at the beginning of the 1,000 years. We're all going to receive our perfect bodies. Boom, we come to life, so to speak, and we reign with Christ for 1,000 years. Those who were raptured and those who were beheaded during the tribulation or gave up their life because of the name of Christ. They refused to deny the name of Christ. They had not worshipped the beast or its image and had not received its mark on their foreheads or their hands. That's a bigger deal than you realize, especially if you have children during this time. If you have children during this time, you're saying as the parent, I'm not going to take the symbol on my hand or forehead, therefore I will not be able to buy or sell anything during the tribulation. You are basically committing yourself and your family to starvation. So do you know how many Christian wives? It's going to get sad. I mean, I'm just telling you the truth. A lot of Christian wives are going to look at their husband, and then they're going to look at their children, and they're going to buckle under. They're going to say, I cannot bear the pain of watching my children starve to death. So they're going to sneak off with the children and get the seal of the beast on their hand or forehead in order so the children can eat. I'm going to blame the husbands for that. You thought I was going to blame the wives. No, that's you somehow not accepting Christ and not teaching your family about Christ before the rapture, so you're all stuck here after the rapture, and now all of a sudden you put 2 plus 2 together, and you say, I want to go to heaven. I'm not going to accept the seal on my hand or forehead. I'm not going to worship the beast. But your wife, you just explained to your wife during the tribulation in the last, 10 minutes that I'm now a believer in Jesus Christ, and she's saying, what are you talking about? So there's going to be a lot of wives. If I said Christian wives, I didn't mean Christian wives. If you have a Christian wife, she's going to go to heaven during the rapture. Yeah. I'm talking about non-believing wives. If you all of a sudden become a believer 5 minutes after the rapture, your wife is probably not going to follow along, because, especially if you have children, for the reasons I just said. There's not many women who can say, I'm going to allow my children to starve to death so they can go to heaven with Christ. Especially if they were a non-believer their whole life. I'm just telling you the truth. The day to start telling your family about Jesus is right now, before the rapture. They had not worshipped the beast or its image, or had not received its mark on their foreheads or their hands. They came to life and reigned with Christ 1,000 years. The rest of the dead did not come to life until the 1,000 years were ended. Okay. That means those in hell. Those in hell. Meaning they're going to stay in hell for 1,000 years. It's very basically simple. This is the first resurrection. Blessed and holy are those who share in the first resurrection. The rapture. The resurrection of the dead that believed, boom. And those who believe who are still alive, probably most of you listening, because the rapture is so short, like a few years from now. In my opinion, I say it could happen anywhere from 3 years to 10 or 12 years on the max out. I do not think the rapture will take longer than 10 years, in my opinion. This was the first resurrection. Blessed and holy are those who share in the first resurrection. The second death has no power over them. That is, the second death is the judgment day. That's why everyone in hell and everyone in heaven is going to come for judgment day and be raised up out. And every knee is going to bow. Why even have judgment day if they're already in hell and we're already in heaven? The believers are already in heaven and the non-believers are already in hell, so why even have judgment day? Well, I got a good answer. Because the phrase that says, every knee shall bow and acknowledge Jesus Christ is Lord. Even those in hell, they're going to bow their knee before the King of Kings and acknowledge Jesus Christ was Lord, or is Lord. But then they're going to be sent back to hell. True story. I hope these things bother you greatly. I hope you lose sleep over it. If you're not a Christian, I hope it starts to bother you. I pray, you cry out to Jesus, what should I do? Save my soul. Save my family. Save my children. Save my parents. Then you work on your brothers and your sisters. I do not recommend any new Christian going out and trying to preach to people until they have studied the Bible for a little while and have strengthened their own belief system. Then you can go out and start preaching with a little confidence behind you. And if someone asks you a question that you don't know the answer, say, I don't know the answer. I just became a Christian like 3 months ago. But I will ask someone, I will look it up, I will find the answer. But as a new Christian, be careful, be careful. Most people are just jerking your chain. That's the devil trying to get you to give up your faith. Because most people ask questions that absolutely nobody could answer. There is no answer on earth at this time. They go, well, where did God come from? They're trained by the devil to ask questions that nobody has an answer to. So don't be tricked by them. They don't want an answer. They just want to jerk your chain. That's the honest to goodness truth. Blessed and holy are those who share in the first resurrection. The second death has no power over them, but they will be priests of God and of Christ and will reign with him for 1,000 years. Let me tell you something very encouraging. You don't have to know any of these specific things. You only have to know Jesus. You do not have to know any of the specifics. You do not have to know all the answers in the Bible. No, 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 no. You only have to believe that Jesus Christ has saved your soul and ask for forgiveness of sins, and he will. You don't have to know the 1,000-year reign and all these details and who's going to hell. All you have to know is once you become saved, you will be with Jesus for all eternity. It's that simple. That's all you have to know. You will be with Jesus for all eternity. When the 1,000 years are over, Satan will be released from his prison and will go out to deceive the nations in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, and to gather them for battle. In number, they are like the sand on the seashore. They marched across the breadth of the earth and surrounded the camp of God's people. So they are going to be able to deceive people after the end of the 1,000-year reign. They're going to be able to deceive people to come against God again. What this should tell you is the true heart of man. The true heart of man hates God. Unless you're saved. You say, I don't hate God. Well, of course you don't, because you're saved. But the true heart of man, oh yeah, the true heart of man fights and rages against God. It says in the Old Testament, why do the nations rage and conspire against the Lord? All as God offers you is his love for all eternity. But the devil, the dragon, is very good at deception. They marched across the breadth of the earth and surrounded the camp of God's people, the city he loves. Gee, I wonder what the outcome of that is going to be. Duh. God's going to destroy him and wipe him off and send him right back to hell? Now, when I'm preaching these things, I've admitted like half these chapters, I may be wrong about several things, the timing and what, I'm not wrong about the events because I can read the words straight out, but the timing and all that, don't quote me. Don't say, I know this guy Dave who says it's going to happen this way or that way. No. Say, I know God. I know Jesus. Don't claim that I can't save your soul, put it that way. I have no power to save your soul. Okay, let's go. The four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, and gather them for battle, in number they are like sand on the seashore. I mean, how many people are going to be on the earth after the 1,000-year reign? Nobody can answer that either, can they? We don't know. In number, they are like sand on the seashore. So during the 1,000 years, are people going to die during that time? I have no idea. I hear preachers say people will be living and dying and having families and children, and we, those who believed, will be in heaven in the great city. I don't have all the answers, no. In number, they are like sand on the seashore. That's the ones coming against God's great city. They marched across the breadth of the earth and surrounded the camp of God's people, the city he loves. That would be the 1,000-year reign in Jerusalem, the New Jerusalem. But fire came down from heaven and devoured them. Have they not seen? This is mind-boggling to me. Have they not seen the power of God for 1,000 years? Do they not understand the power of God? They cannot win. And the devil who deceived them, there you go, deception. Are you being deceived today? What part of your life, even as a Christian, is being deceived by the devil today? What part of your life, as a Christian or non-Christian, you say, well, I don't believe in the devil. Well, it doesn't matter if you believe in him or not. He's a real thing. And the devil who deceived them was thrown into the lake of burning sulfur, where the beast and the false prophet had been thrown. They will be tormented day and night forever and ever. And at that point, all deception and hate and pain and anger will never be again. There will never be another Garden of Eden to where someone can sin. The only people left are the people that followed God. And how glorious it will be. Then I saw a great white throne and him who was seated on it. The earth and the heavens fled from his presence, and there was no place for them. Wow. Now check this out. And I saw the dead, great and small, standing before the throne, and books were open. This is the books of life. Another book was open, which is the book of life. The dead were judged according to what they had done, as recorded in the books. Everything you do on earth, believer or non-believer, is recorded in a book in the kingdom of God right now. The sea gave up the dead that were in it, and death and Hades gave up the dead that were in them, and each person was judged according to what they had done. Then death and Hades were thrown into the lake of fire. Actual death was thrown in the lake of fire. Death will never be a thing ever again. It will never, ever exist. The lake of fire is the second death. Anyone whose name was not found written in the book of life was thrown into the lake of fire. That is the end of chapter 20. There's only 2 chapters left in the Bible. Almost 2 pages, and we'll get to chapter 21 and chapter 22. And like I said, you don't have to believe me. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to, I don't have to be correct on every single thing I say about times and stuff in the Bible. But you do have to know Jesus Christ before you die, or before you're raptured. Or you got a 5% or 10% chance, in my opinion, during the tribulation of finding out who Jesus is in the book of, during the tribulation. You have a very slim chance because of all the deception that's on the earth. You don't have to know anything on this world, but you do have to know Jesus. And if you don't know Jesus, you're going to be tormented forever and ever in the lake of fire. It doesn't matter what happens to you, during the 1,000 years, before the 1,000 years, during the 500 years, the 120 years. It doesn't matter. Your end result, without Jesus, your end result is you're thrown in the lake of fire with the devil, the beast, and the prostitute for all eternity. You're not going to care what happened to you, 600 years earlier. You're not going to care about any of that stuff. You're going to be tormented day and night in a lake of burning sulfur fire. I'll just leave it at that.